Good afternoon, everyone. So my name is William Ketchum. I am the senior culture editor at Mike and a longtime entertainment journalist. Today I will be speaking to Saba. Saba is an artist from Chicago. He started his career recording in his grandmother's basement. He built a studio in his grandmother's basement, and he built a crew named the Pivot Gang. And he's really taken a long-term approach to his career, steadily building a fan base, and he has become one of the more successful artists from his city. He just earned his first gold plaque as a solo artist. He appeared on J. Cole's. He appeared with J. Cole on Sacrifices from the Revenge of the Dreamers 3 mixtape. He was on the Judas and the Black Messiah soundtrack. Just an incredible, genuine, talented artist, and I'm really excited to be speaking to him today. So please welcome Saba. Nothing much, man.
Hello, check, hello. This is, that was kind, I really appreciate. That was like you built me up.
Hey, man, look, I've been a fan of yours for a minute, so it's an honor to be speaking to you today, man.
Absolutely, thank you.
So, as I just mentioned, so you just got your first gold solo plaque, right, for photosynthesis.
I did. Well, I don't have the plaque yet. I got the certification.
Look,
it's like
first step. First of all, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
And I think it's interesting because oftentimes when we look at artists who are independent, we don't necessarily associate them with a lot of the sort of achievements that you've gotten, right? You know, if an artist doesn't sign on a major, if an artist doesn't make songs that are immediately made for clubs or radio, we don't necessarily associate them with getting, benchmarks like that.
Right.
So what kind of feelings come from getting an accomplishment like that when that may not be the initial approach that you've taken for your career?
Yeah. I don't know. For me, I think most artists are pretty similar in that they are pretty hard on themselves. So when I first saw it, I didn't think I would care about it. I don't know,
yeah,
it's cool, it's a goal, but it took 6 years to do it. And then you get out of that mindset, or you see people's reaction, or your friends' reaction, or you just see how big a deal it is, and you kind of get out of your own head to really realize, like, damn, like that's a big deal. Like that's some shit that when you're a kid you imagine and you think about. And a lot of that type of stuff, it's like it gets to a point where it's like things just move so quick, where it's like some of the stuff that you imagined happening, like in your life, starts to happen, and you really got to stop yourself and take the moment to be like, oh shit, that just happened, like So for me, that's kind of the moment that I'm having right now, where it's like, just like, because there's so much more that you want to go and do and achieve. It's like your brain is like just yelling all of these thoughts at you, and you don't appreciate everything that you already have done. So that's kind of the space that I'm in right now, where I'm like, just like take it in for a second. Like that's a gold record on an album that you did in your grandma's basement. Like that's cool as fuck. Like, so that's
And you mentioned it's an interesting dichotomy to me because you said that you imagined this stuff when you were a kid,
right?
But at some point you said that you wouldn't think it was a big deal when you reached it.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that's more a product, I feel like, of adulthood than anything else, where it's like things that you used to think were cool. It's like the older you get, the more you like, whatever. It's just another thing.
Yeah.
But it's like, nah, I appreciate it. Like it's tight. It's
Absolutely. Cool. And I think you getting your first plaque for that is really indicative of the approach that you've taken to your career. Mm-hmm. I think you've taken an approach that really emphasizes building steadily instead of just going for the quick hit. Right. So So when did you decide that that would be the approach that you were going to take for your career?
I don't know that there was ever a conscious decision like, let's do this slow. Uh, I don't think anybody like does that on purpose, really. You know, it's like a thing that happens. Because I don't control really how fast people can catch on, how quickly my music will spread and things like that. I guess I can take this as an opportunity to like kill the like stigma that's associated with like me and a lot of other artists, that we're so conscious about where our music is released and things like that. I wasn't signed when some of those records came out early on just because nobody wanted to sign me, not because I didn't want to be signed. In 2014, when we were doing mixtapes and stuff, like, if you tried to sign me, I would have did it. I would have did it.
Right.
But it was like, I think I hit an awkward part in after Acid Rap came out. It was like my name was on this nationally recognized platform all of a sudden, and I didn't really have a lot of music out. I had one project out at the time, but I definitely wiped that, cleared that. And then Comfort Zone was the mixtape that I put out in 2014, and around then it was just happenstance. We happened to be independent. And then it was like, all right, well, nobody's reaching out, nobody's trying to sign us, people would email us and then disappear, and things like that were happening. So it just felt like a thing that I'm like, well, I'm not gonna stop doing what I'm doing, you know what I'm saying, because nobody's trying to sign me. Like, so I just kept doing it and kept growing it, and then now we're here. Now we're here. But it was never like let's do it step by step. Like, if my first mixtape back then would have blew up, I would have loved it. Yeah. I would have absolutely loved for that to happen. But, it just happens differently for everybody. And now it's taught me the importance of the scenic route, the importance of building something fundamentally sound and, like, structurally, like, together before taking that next step. I think that's something that I learned from happenstance,
For sure. And when I bring that up, I'm not just talking about you not being on a major label. I'm more so talking about the music itself, right? Like, you aren't necessarily making club music.
Right,
You aren't
right,
necessarily making radio music. So I'm also just speaking about the
music itself.
Yeah, the music itself.
Yeah, that's something I didn't touch on at all. The music itself, I think those types of decisions come from, I don't know, I'm a firm believer that artists should be making what they like. And I always like the type of music that I make. So it's like, naturally, when you go in the studio and you start messing around with sounds and, you making your first songs, it's like you're going to make songs similar to the type of music that inspired you. And from there, you can push out and, like, branch off, start discovering, exploring different like sonic stuff. But I don't know, I never grew up really that into the, like, super smash radio record, everybody's featured on it, it's the biggest song in the world. I was always like, man, turn this off. Like, so when I got in the studio, I didn't immediately go for that. I think as an adult now, and, like, I can appreciate that type of music, and I can, maybe save some space for there to be a way that we pursue that, but in our own way or something like that. But it just wasn't a thing that I was trying to do with my music, Yeah.
And so you brought up acid rap, and I think one thing that's really interesting about your career is just how intertwined you, Chance, No Name, Smino, like, it feels like all of your careers were sort of intertwined and that you sort of built up together.
Mick, I would add Mick to that list as well.
And Mick, absolutely,
Mick,
for sure. Was that a decision where you're like, you know what, each of us are trying to build up, let's all do this together? Or was it a situation where you were all like minds and you just sort of connected naturally?
I think it was more that. This is going to sound strange, but we used to hang out at the library when we were teenagers.
Yeah.
And that was the cool spot to be at. It's like, it's like funny saying that now, but it's like, the library was so popping. Like, it used to be, it was like an open mic ran at this library. So that's where I met pretty much all of them, except Smee. Smee wasn't around yet. I think he was, I don't know, I think he was in Chicago, but I don't think he was like he was like in college or something. I don't know. But the library was where we were doing our first performances ever. You know what I'm saying? Like, it would be like, it was just like an opportunity, and, you know, it was like teenagers had a platform through this program. And that's what we was watching Chance. Like, I didn't know Chance. I was just watching him. He would come every Wednesday to the library and do this song about, I think it was called Prom Night. And every night he would do it. It was on 10 Day. And he would do that. And I was able to see, I'm like, oh, like by the, 2-3 weeks into seeing that, I'm like, oh, he has fans. Like, he not just like a kid performing. He is just a kid performing at the library. But I'm like, oh, he's actually building something. And I was just too shy to rap at that point in front of people. But that's around the time we started the Pivot Gang as well. Yeah. And when Pivot Gang starts, like, we was at the library every week and at every open mic. It wasn't just the library, it was every open mic that we can hit. And because we were all doing the same thing, I would go to different open mics and I would see Chance, I would see No Name, I would see Mick Jenkins. Like, so I'm like, we just ended up happenstance spending a lot of time together. Chance, not so much because I didn't know him that well. He like kind of already had his thing going on. But No Name, I also like ran a studio. My grandma's basement was like a studio that I would like charge people to come like record and stuff like that. So that's how I met like a lot of rappers in Chicago. Like, I was recording, I did Lucky X, Body High. Like, I recorded that in my basement. I did like most of like the telephone recordings and all the No Name stuff. I was recording some of Mick Jenkins' Trees and Truths stuff. Like, I was just there trying to play a part. Like, these people don't know I rap yet, but I can help. I can, so I was accidentally, like, it's not like when I was 17 I was aware of this, but we were building community. Yeah. The thing about Pivot Gang and us, like my crew and where we're from and stuff, we are from the west side of Chicago. Chicago is pretty big in that the south side is like almost like a different planet than the west side of Chicago. It's like all the way over there, like that's like 30-40 minute car ride. None of us have cars, so they're from a different planet than us is essentially how you can look at it as people that are not from Chicago. They started to come out west to record. So this is our introduction into not just music really, but to Chicago even. Because now it's like we're building that community, that sense of like they had to take, No Name was taking a maybe hour 30 train ride pretty much every day to record with me. At that point. And it was cool because we were really building something, and I don't think we knew because we were so young, but it's crazy, really, like, it's like super, like, just like, I don't know, I'm in awe of it, like, to see what happened in those years,
Really makes me think of those stories when you hear like a bunch of like NBA players like going to the same school and then they all end up in the league. Shout out to Mick, by the way. Didn't mean to leave him out, but an incredible artist. One thing I really appreciate about your music, man, is you have a really strong sense of being present. Every album, I feel like I know exactly where you were when you made it. Bucket List, like I can tell that you are right at the cusp of achieving what you want to achieve, and you've got that anticipation, but you're also really eager to reach it, right? Care for Me, you're mourning, and that emotion is really prevalent. Few Good Things, you're really into, like, you sort of like discovering your family history in real time, right? Have you always been able to tap into those emotions that thoroughly, or is that something that you had to develop? And if so, how did you reach that point? Because like it really feels really present. Like it's tough to explain, but I feel it with every record.
That's really good to hear, because that's the thing that I feel like I struggle with in real life is like being present. Like even right now, I'm trying to like make sure I'm looking at everything that's around and like looking at the people that are here and things like that, because things move so fast. Sometimes it's hard to be present. But I would say in my music is probably where I show up the most, because I don't know, this might be an oversimplification, but to me, being present means paying attention to the small details. Like, it could be like, I just now noticed that there are people back there. I didn't see them before, but I've been on the stage the whole time. But something like that detail is what makes the song feel real. It's like you can describe something to someone, but it's not until you use words that I feel like resonate with their life, where it's like they can picture it. And to me, that's something that I didn't always do in my music, but I did it when I used to be in school. When I was in high school, we had creative writing classes and stuff like that. Like, I would always get good grades from my teacher because I understood the attention to detail. When she would make us like create short stories and things like that, it was like the difference between an A and a B was like you describing a sentence with, you used a certain adjective to describe the floor. You didn't just say the floor, but you put an adjective before it. And things like that in music really create a visual. And that's something that I think is really a attention to detail, like when it comes to like just being present. And some of it, sometimes when I'm writing, I go on autopilot. Like, I'm just like, I don't know, but it's rhyming and it's working. And then you read it back to yourself and you like, I didn't even know this is what I was thinking about, So I don't know if that's exactly present, because it didn't even feel like I was present writing it. But, it'll sound like that because of the attention to detail,
Absolutely. A huge record in your career, and my favorite record of yours so far, is Care For Me. And that was dedicated to a loved one that you lost. And it's just a really powerful meditation on grief in general. Is that an album did making that album help you process that grief? Or did you have to process that grief before making it, and you sort of realized all the emotions that you had and you were able to put them down?
Yeah. I would say it helped me to recognize my grief. I don't know that it helped me to process it. I thought it did at the time, but, it's been 4 years and I'm still processing it. So it's weird, and I think, I don't remember who I was talking to, but whoever they were, it was a friend of mine that was not from America. I remember that much, because the conversation was about grief in the American society and things like that, and just how it's like, it's viewed as a thing that it's like time-based. Like, oh, give it a few years and then you'll be good. But it's like grief in a lot of other places aren't viewed like that. It's like, it's just there, And that's something that I feel like I'm learning the older I get, that it's like, it's not this thing to conquer and beat, and it's like, okay, I'm not grieving anymore. It's like, nah, I lost somebody that was like near and dear to my heart and that I hung out with every day. And then, like, it should be in that sentence. It's like a lot of things that it make you feel the grief. Something as simple as being like, in Chicago, Chance and No Name and Mick and you and Smee and all of these people are going crazy. It's like, when I think of my grief, I'm like, damn, I know if my friend was here, he would be in that list. So it's like, there's a lot of ways that when I think of Care For Me in that album, it's like it was really tied to such an emotional string. But I think all of my for me, all of them are in a way, tied to something just as close. Otherwise, I don't want to, I don't want to make the album if I don't believe in it, if I don't care in it. So I don't know that I answered the question, but I did talk for a while. So
Well, and I mean, I'm not going to dwell on that album specifically, but one thing that uh, for a lot of people, that was the album that really connected them to you. And I wonder if so many people associate you with such sadism oversimplification. But I think for so many people to associate you with an album that came in a difficult part of your life, if people are asking you about that album or connecting you with an album like that, it makes it more difficult to you. Like, does it feel like you are reliving that pain anytime somebody comes to you about the album?
Not anytime. There's certain things like, there's certain things that I have to remind people, because the other thing is like, because I say things in my music, especially on that album, that are so personal, that are so close to, I'm talking about family, I'm talking about a trauma that we all just, but to a lot of fans listening to it, it's just a song.
Yeah.
So it's like people might come and they'll say something detailed, or they'll, hey, bro, where's the Prom King music video? Where's the music video?
Yeah.
And I'm just like, yo, like, shit has never happened and let it go.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and it's like, you almost remove yourself. Like, it's like, I don't know, I think as an artist, anytime I put out any piece of music, it no longer feels like it's mine anymore. And that's why it's like, I'll listen to it a million times, I'll get it right, I'll get it, not perfect, but to a point where it's done. And I put it out, and it's like, by then, I have sat with the music, I have, I've cried to the music, I've grown with the music, and it's like, now it's for you all's consumption. But it's like, you really got to open yourself to, especially if you're talking about like personal things, because it's like, the thing that's always awkward is like, you don't actually know me.
Yes.
You know a story that I told on a song or something like that, but you don't actually know me. And knowing so much about my own personal life can make people feel that they do. Mm-hmm. And there's just like certain boundaries that I've had to learn a very like hard way with that album specifically.
You say that when you put out a song, it's not yours anymore.
Right.
I think it's one thing to feel that way artistically, right? I mean, because you tweak it however many times you tweak it and you let go of it artistically. Emotionally, that feels like a different beast.
Oh, it's crazy.
You know what I mean? So, how do you build it, as much as this has been a metaphor that's been used so fucking often? It feels like it really does make me think of a child, right? Like you're sending like releasing a song may be like sending a child off to college or something. Like to have their own life after that, right?
Yeah.
So how do you let go of a record that like that you pour so much emotion into?
Yeah. Well, sometimes it depends on the record, because not every record is that intense.
Sure.
And sometimes it's like you make something with the intention of releasing it. You're thinking about it when you're in the studio, like, man, I can't wait to drop this one. So sometimes it's like that's what the whole song was intended for.
Yeah.
But I think by the time my records have come out, like thinking of even this last album I put out in February, A Few Good Things, we had some of that music from even before when Care For Me was done.
Yeah.
So like some of those songs are from that long ago, almost 4 years ago. So it's like I've accepted it, I've sat with them, I've grown with them, and now it's like, okay, this is done to me. It's not perfect. Mm-hmm. I gotta, you gotta let that go as an artist. It's not perfect, but it's done. Release it. But it's like by then, it's like I had already had my, me and my friends, we hung out, we celebrated, we did everything. It's like now it's not, our moment with it. It's like it's up to y'all now, like
And that actually speaks to another question I had. I was watching an interview you did. I think the interview you did with Preem, and you said you had a different version of A Few Good Things, and you just scrapped it.
Yeah.
And you said that was that was your favorite decision of your career so far, is what you said.
That's funny. I be saying stuff like that.
So I guess tell me about, how you got to the point that you had finished an album and that you had just decided, you know what, this
Nah,
ain't
not
it.
this one.
Yeah.
I stand by that. I stand by that decision and saying that. Like, yeah, that was important to. It got to a point where, and this happens, and I think most like professional artists' career at some point, it becomes a decision of, you're running a business. So it's like business and art, I think, are naturally bumping heads most times. And my decision to make that the original Few Good Things, which I would call a mixtape and not an album, my original decision to make that and release it was based in business. And it was like, okay, it's been 2 years, it's time to put out something. And that, I feel like, it just adds to the noise. Like, you know what I'm saying? If I'm putting out something that I don't really care about and it's just like, these songs is just here. I don't know. I want to care about it. I want to believe in it. I want to, and it also, that decision was so heavily influenced by, like, that was like a lockdown mixtape. Like, that was like 2020. I was making a bunch of songs right before the lockdown happened, about to drop some stuff. And then it's like, well, now what? So many plans that a lot of artists had were like really affected by that. And I don't know, I was like gonna do it, and then it was just like, why? Why? And the answer was because I felt like I needed to. Like, I felt like I had to do that, or like I was gonna fuck my career up or something. And that's how I think a lot of decisions, like, to me, I don't know, I got like, I get anxiety really easily. But I think a lot of artists be feeling that way. Like, if they don't do the right thing at the right time, it's all over. Yeah. And it's just like this irrational, like, bro, chill, relax, breathe. Like, and then we went back to the studio. Like, let me make, like, that. It took making that to know the album that I wanted to make, which was the album that came out last month, or 2 months ago now.
Now, a couple questions about that. One, how crazy were you about those songs when you made them versus when you reached the point that you decided that you didn't want to put it out?
Well, the songs were good to me. I liked them. I got them mixed. We shot videos, and some of those were the songs like during the lockdown, like in 2020, 2021. I was dropping some singles throughout, and we shot 3 videos. That was the thing. This was what made the decision to not go through with that mixtape challenging, because we had already invested in it. We shot 3 videos for it. Every song was mixed and mastered. It was like ready to go. So it's like, I spent my money now. Like, it got to come out.
And that's different because it's self-funded, because you're an independent
Right,
artist.
right,
Yeah.
right. Well, with that was actually, so this Few Good Things album that came out, we did a distribution deal. So it had actually also, it had been funded. It was like, it's like a record deal, but you own the shit, And it's like, why wouldn't I want to do that? Like, they advanced me some money so we can work on whatever we got to work on. And, yeah, but I don't know. I think everything is it's like, no matter how much money somebody gonna give, like some company is gonna give you and put on a project, it's like, you're always gonna end up coming out of your pocket for something. So with that, it was like, where I ended up coming out of pocket is I spent some of this budget on this mixtape that we didn't actually use. But it's not like I got a new budget to make the album. Yeah. I just made the album with the rest of the budget that I had, But yeah, that shit is always a hard decision. It's like, it's not even limited to like arts or the industry or anything. It's like just anytime you spend money on something, you want to use it. Like,
How did your team react when you said you
it
didn't
was
want to
cool.
drop
My
it?
team is, to be clear, my immediate team is 2 people. It's me and
Yes.
2 other people.
Yes.
My manager, Christella, right there, and then my other manager, Rory, who is in New York. I think I have a really nice support system in that unless I'm like really making a decision that I feel like they don't believe in or they don't fuck with, they usually are on the same side as me when it comes to, like, because it's not about the money. It's not about what you spent on. It's like, this is, at the end of the day, it's my work. It has to live forever in some capacity. I have to live with every decision that we make. So it's like, I already had like I said, a lot of these songs that ended up being on the album, I make a lot of music. So it's not like we had nothing. It was like, I'm scrapping this and I don't have anything. It's like, I'm scrapping this, I'm going to do the album, but these are the songs that are, like, so it makes it a little easier, I feel like. And their remembering of this whole thing will probably be much different from my answer because, like I told you, I've been on autopilot a lot. Like, it's really hard to be present. I barely remember the conversation of making the decision to be like, hey, we're not going to do that. It's like, I know it was in 2020, but that's all I know.
Right. And a few good things. Now, actually, one of my favorite lyrics on the new album is, I turned a million down a million times. That's not a lot to me. One of my favorite lyrics. I believe that was on a record with G Herbo.
Nah, that was that stopped that.
Okay, yeah. I know that you can be an autopilot, but I'm wondering if you remember these scenarios where you had to turn down, $1 million, and if so, what it's like to see your career ascend to a level where you can even turn that down.
Yeah.
And it's actually a sound business decision.
I wanted to. That's a line that I wanted to say it to just like, on some rap shit. It's like,
Yeah.
Did that shit. But I wanted to offer context. Because I didn't want it to just be like some flex shit. I wanted to have people understand the decision making and the decision, and that's, I think, the tangent that I wanted to go on in the second verse, like, of that song. But that's also why there's no next line. It's just like, it's just a bar of blank space. Like, but honestly, those were the scariest fucking decisions I made in my entire life. It's so intimidating. You're in a room, and you're talking about your life and your career, and people are saying crazy things to you, and some of them are crazy good, and some of them are sacrifices that ultimately is going to be up to you how this goes, and for me, I think I understood already, because I had been independent for so long, how easy it is to spend that. Like, realistically, like, it's like, not just like on some like, $1 million is like, I'm gonna get my mama a house, I'm gonna get it. You can't even buy a house in LA for that, realistically. Like, it's really like a lot. And then, we talking about album budgets, we talking about marketing, we talking about a lot of stuff. And I don't know, to me it was just like, it wasn't about what number was on that paper. It was about, like, I didn't feel like I had truly bet on myself until walking out of some of those meetings. Because like I told you, I was independent, not by choice, but by nobody wanted to sign me.
Yeah, like by circumstance.
So then when people, started reaching out, I remember it was the year Care For Me came out. We started doing meetings, and I was really excited to sign. Like, Because it's like, man, we running an independent business. It's like, there are 3 people on the team, and we're running an independent business. Like, it's like we want results. We want gold records. We want, I want what all these other rappers have. Like, you know what I'm saying? Why not me? But it's like, it's a decision that, I don't know. I think it was such a big decision to me at the time. And I think since then I've learned it's like, I don't know. It's like, just because you're signed doesn't mean you're going to be successful. And just because you're signed doesn't mean you're going to be unsuccessful. It's like, it's different for everybody. Some people are independent and probably should be signed to a label. And some people are on a label and should probably be independent. So it's really like what works for you. The reason that I didn't do that is because I don't know if we knew what worked yet. I think we were still figuring it out. At that time, Care For Me had just come out. I had only put out 1 album before Care For Me. So it's not like we really, I don't know, bet just yet. I think this album was the real bet. This album was the bet because this is where I began to understand a lot more decision making as an independent artist. It's like, you want mainstream results. This is what you got to do. And a lot of that shit costs a lot of money. And then you understand really quickly why people are signing to deals and shit. It's like,
And you've really achieved a lot outside of the major label paradigm, man. Like, the Revenge of the Dreamers situation, that's ill. The song on Judas and the Black Messiah. And you have a small team, as you said. So how have you been able to actually get so many of these looks that not only are they dope in terms of like professional achievements, they also seem to really connect with who you are. Right. You know what I mean? Like this, like the record with Smino on the soundtrack, or this record you did with Cole, or like late night performances with Chance. All these things they seem. Like even the Preem magazine that you just did. Right. All of these seem really aligned with who you are. You have a lyric. I'm forgetting the lyric, but something like, in your Complex article that you wrote, you said every bag isn't for you.
Ooh,
that's what you said.
Yeah,
so
it
was
I see why you thought that was a lyric.
No, yeah. It really felt like one. How have you been able to find the bags that are for you, and being able to find bags that help you keep your artistic integrity, and are also finding things that just connect to who you are?
Yeah. I think a lot of things about this question, because there's really no like step by step, here's what I did. But what I would say is part of it is knowing what you want, knowing who you want to be associated with, knowing what you want to look like, knowing, like, I think the self-awareness, and not to say, because it's like artists can grow, artists can change, artists can have phases, artists can do so much, but I think we don't always know that. And we don't know that we can just be ourselves a lot of time, and that would be if I had to think of the real answer to the question, is like, what I would say is genuine relationships. Like, I can explain to you exactly how I ended up on the late night stage with Chance, and it wouldn't necessarily make sense. It's not like it will be a go-to guide that you can use. It would just be like, well, that's just kind of how it happened. But all right, so we can go back to the library. So we in this library. Mick Jenkins comes along after some months. I don't know when I met him, but me and Mick Jenkins do a song together, and we shoot a video, and I had just met Mick, but he was like a really, really good rapper. And I'm like, yo, I got this studio out west at my grandma's crib. If you ever want to come by, if you ever, you know what I'm saying? Like, that was my, like, that was just what I was on at the library. Like, I would walk around, I would try to meet people, and people that I thought were dope, I would invite them, like, hey, we run a studio. If you need to record something, let us know. And we did the video with Mick and just put it out. I don't know Chance for real, but he sees the video while he's working on Acid Rap. Gets my number from one of his friends and is like, hey, I want you to be on Acid Rap. That's where our relationship really starts. Before that, he was just somebody that I would see around, say what's up, and then, you know, move around. But that was where the relationship started. Acid Rap happens. The next year I put out Comfort Zone, and then he was working on some music and texted me randomly. Hey, in the studio right now, you should come by working on something that you might like. And the song was Angels. And the reason that he wanted me to, he was listening to Comfort Zone, the mixtape that I put out. And there's a song I did called Butter. And in the song, I do a cadence. I do, and he did that on this song, on Angels. So it was like, hey, you should get on this song. Like, you know, like, hey, like, it was dope. It was a really cool gesture because it's like a lot of times smaller artists do inspire bigger artists all the time. And it's not always that the smaller artists would know. You know, sometimes it's just like they'll just blatantly take. And Chance has never been a person who just takes some shit. Like, he was always like really like humble and really approachable and really like, hey, I'm a fan of you. Like, and you always knew, you know, like I've performed at some of those Comfort Zone shows that I was doing. Like, he was on stage with me reciting my lyrics, like on songs that he wasn't even on. So when he was doing the Angels record, he let me do the hook. And, you know, when they started rolling out the album, Chance was going crazy at that point. It was like, damn, he's like blowing up, like blowing up, like not just like some blog love, like he's doing everything. And when he had the late night opportunity, he was telling me like that was what he wanted to do first. And that's how I ended up on, that's how I ended up on late night, with Chance. And that's why it's like, it's not like a step-by-step, like, here, now you can do this, but it's information, you know? I can, you know, if you want the step-by-step of all of those scenarios, I could tell you, but it's not necessarily something that you can, like, recreate. I think the part that can be recreated is, like, building with people that you believe in, building with people that are genuine, and associating yourself with people that inspire you and things like that, because that's like, it's all in community and all of those things. Like the Smino record, that's like solely like community, you know what I'm saying? Like the, even getting down to the Cole stuff, which that stuff is different because I didn't know them, you know, I just kind of ended up down there, which I don't know. I wish I knew. When did we get they were doing the Dreamville, like the invitations and stuff?
That shit was ill. Like, yo, like, seeing everybody get those cards was incredible.
Honestly, I'm going to be real. I think we just happened to be going to Atlanta, and we were talking to them, and they were like, oh, we're doing this, come by. No, we went? I remember getting the invitation, but I thought it was for, like, originally it was for a meeting. Okay. See, that's everybody. Round of applause for Christella. So yeah, we was gonna go regardless. It turns out, Ebe is Cole's manager, and I guess that's who hit Christella with the invite. Like, hey, y'all should pull up. But yeah, I don't know. I haven't really talked to Cole that much, so I don't know how he got like hip or anything like that. But I know when I met him when he was down there, he was like, "Yo, I'm a big fan," and then we did the record. but it was all like really quick and really like it just happened to happen. It wasn't really like we did anything for it to happen. You know, it just kind of happened.
What was it like out there? Because everyone I spoke to that was out there just made it seem like, like seeing your face before I've even asked the question makes me realize just how special of an experience that was out there. Because everyone who I've spoken to who was out there speaks about it as just being a completely egoless experience. And like it was just a completely organic, egoless experience where people are just making music, having a great time, building a relationship. So like, so what are your memories from being out there? Well, by the way, everyone, just to be clear, I'm speaking about the recording of Revenge of the Dreamers 3. J. Cole and Dreamville had something that they basically called Rap Camp. And they invited some like 100 artists all to basically convene in Atlanta. They rented out a studio. I'm forgetting which studio it was, but they rented out a studio, basically the whole thing, and they basically created for like, was it a few days or a couple weeks?
I was there a few days, but I think it went on maybe like a week or two.
Yeah. So they basically invited all these artists out. They made these like gold cards to basically let artists show on social media that they were invited.
Like,
yeah, it really was some Willy Wonka shit. It was incredible. And everyone who I spoke to who was out there, everyone from Ari Lennox to Smino to everyone who was there just made it seem like it was just a life-changing experience, really. So anyway, yeah.
It was cool. So I was really nervous about it because I had been in Chicago for so long. My community, my sense of, like my Rolodex was people in Chicago. You know, I knew all of the rappers in Chicago. I didn't know no rappers that weren't from there. So I was kind of nervous because I'm like, man, I don't really know none of them. Like, you know, like that was where I met everybody for the first time. And me, Smino, and No Name did Fallon the week before. And running into Smino at Fallon, he's like, hey, are you going to the Dreamville thing? And I'm like, yeah, you going? And then finding out he was going is what gave me like all right, we good. It's going to be some family down there, so we ain't got to worry about it. I get there. The first person I see is Monty Booker, who, if y'all don't know, is like a really, 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 really amazing producer. He makes most of Smino's music, but he's from Chicago and is just the warmest energy ever. So I see him when I got there kind of early, I guess. It was 1 p.m. I didn't know that was early, but we talking about rappers, so it was kind of early. So it's a lot of producers. The rappers haven't really gotten there yet. But Monty kind of pulled me to a room and he was like, "Hey, this the room we've been in. It's me pulling up around this time. Around this time, it's gonna be 50 people here, so it's gonna get crazy. Leave your stuff in this room." Like, you know what I'm saying? He was kind of giving me the rundown, like, this is what it is. But, you know, we just I think I did 14 records down there. And we were just, like, everybody was making that many songs. Like, it was like, you go into a room, somebody's making music. You go into the next room, you go into the hallway, it's a producer with a laptop and, like, some, like, mic on a string or something. Like, it's crazy. It's just, like, everybody is trying to rap. Everybody, everywhere you go. And then upstairs they got the R&B section. It's like everybody, like, but it was just work nonstop. But it was really cool. It was like a lot of like, I don't know, a lot of relationships were built through that. Like I ended up going on tour with Jid, and I know Smee and Earth Gang toured after that. But that was my first time ever meeting Jid, was just down there for the rap camp. But yeah, it was a really unique experience in that, you know, we kind of all knew that everybody wanted to be on this album. Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, my attitude was kind of just to go down there and just like, I'm like, whatever, I'm gonna just have fun because it's 100 artists here, so probably won't use one of the records that I do, like, and Sacrifices came out, but like I said, I did 14 records. You know what I'm saying? So it was like a lot of work was being done, and then they were like really cool about like just like I'm like, hey Eve, if we wanted to put out one of these, like they cool about it. They just with it. So some of that shit still might come out that like didn't make the tape that I just records that I just got. But it was really a unique experience. I've never really had an experience quite like that as a rapper, as a musician in general. It's like, you know what? Musicians do it all the time because musicians have like jams and jam night where it's like you invite a bunch of people and it's like, let's see what happens. But I think that's pretty unique for like rappers to do that.
By the way, like I'll give you my email address if you ever want to get off those extra 13 songs that you did. Just for safekeeping.
Yeah, for sure.
I got a hard drive for you. On a few good things. So a few good things was both an album and a film and a short film. And in both of them, you build a really strong connection to your family history. And you pointed it out sort of in the film, well, in conversations about the film, but that's something that a lot of black people don't really get to do. A lot of black people don't get to really get a strong sense of family history. What did you already know about your family growing up, and what did you learn in the process of making the record?
Yeah. I was for context, I was raised by my grandparents. So with that comes just standard grandparent practice. You get old stories, you get a lot of information that you otherwise might not have gotten. Because even to this day, like I still don't really get that much information about like family history stuff from my actual parents. But it's usually my grandparents that are like, hey, this is, your uncle was, and working on this album, it's not even working on an album that made me think of it. It's just literally growing up, literally getting older and just existing. It's like it's making me think a lot of my grandparents and my parents and things like that. Because I'm like, I'm 27 now. I'm like, my parents had 2 kids at this age. They damn near had 2 kids and a divorce at this age. And it's just like, I'm like, it's just like contextually what I do is what, my grandparents put me in piano and in recital and all of that. So they're like so proud of everything. And it was just like, I don't know, like just recognizing how important that has been in my own life and how that really has changed the entire dynamic of the family. It's like I wanted to know more. And, being black and in America is so hard to find any information about your family. And for me, I'm just like, all right, well, I've already kind of accepted that. So it's not that that's a thing that I lost hope on, but that's a thing that is going to be really challenging to actually pursue. But I'm like, let me get the stories that, what was great. My great-grandma, like my great-grandma was the only person in my family that ever remembered my birthday. Me and my brother, his birthday is July 16th, my birthday is July 17th. So it's really confusing to everybody in my family. But she was the only person, she always got my birthday right. She gave me the piano when my grandma wanted to put me in piano recital classes and all of that stuff. My great-grandma gave me a piano. And there was so many family things that happened at this house. And it's like, now it doesn't, it exists, it's still standing, but it's like, it's just been sold and been closed for, since she passed, which was almost, 10, 15 years ago. And, making this album in the pandemic and just thinking of all of these things that I'm like, our grandparents went through and felt all of these same emotions that we're feeling. It was just in a different time period. But they, so it started making me ask my granddad certain stuff that I wouldn't normally ask him. And that's kind of where, those album interludes and that the storyline of the album kind of comes from. It's just some of those conversations.
Another theme that's sort of intertwined with learning about your family history on the album is sort of this, is sort of reaching the point where you're realizing that, okay, you're making enough money to sort of support people in your family, and in a lot of ways almost sort of spearhead a new narrative for the family, right? And a lot of artists who come from poverty, they do see their music or their art or their careers really as a way to elevate their families to a new financial place, to a new place of safety, etc. But I think it's interesting that you're getting that money and that those career accomplishments at the same time as when you're learning about your family. So like, does that add a new sense of pressure when it's like, okay, I already wanted to use my career to elevate people in my family, but now when you realize that your family migrated to Chicago from the South, right? Or, when you realize your family's history in a much, much more tangible way, does that increase the pressure when you say, all right, I have $1 million meeting and this has like implications for my family that migrated from the South?
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? I feel like I've sort of a way of putting it.
I think I get it. What I would say is the pressure was already there. I think the pressure is on as, quite frankly, it's like a black person in America. It's like the second you make money, it's like, okay, what are we gonna do? Like, what's next? And then the second you make, is that you or me?
That's me.
The second you make more, you realize that you can help people. And that's something that is like, I think why so many black artists feel the pressure is because it's like, there will never be a situation where people don't need your help. There will never be no matter how much money I make, somebody in my family is going to need help because we're black in America. And that's something that it's pretty heartbreaking, but it's also not always on you. It's not always your responsibility. I think a lot of times, like, artists, they come up like thinking like it's up to me to change years of hit. Like, I'm the difference. I'm the generational wealth. Yeah, and it's like, are you good? Like, do you have what you need? Like, are you? Because it's like we're still figuring it out. You know what I'm saying? And that's something that I think that's what I'm in the process of learning now. How much money do you actually have? Because it's like you helping all of these people. Taxes don't give a damn. Then now we're in a pandemic, so it's like all of the money that you thought you had, you actually can't play any of those shows. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is like, I don't think a lot of people think about how many people artists take care of. And that's the part, like, learning and figuring that out is something, like I say, I'm still in the process of doing it, but I'm also in the process of trying to grow to relieve myself of some of that pressure, because the thing is, nobody asked me to do anything. You know what I'm saying? Like, my grandma wasn't like, hey, I need you, please. Like, it's me putting that on myself. Like, no, I gotta save everybody. But it's like, bro, relax. Like, you know, it's weird as an artist because you never know, you know, how long a career will you have. You know, you hear stories all the time of people making crazy amounts of money and blowing through it. And I know as somebody who was watching those stories on TV, like when I was younger and shit, I'm like, they so stupid. Like, look at him. Yep. And now that I'm like growing to a place where I'm in a position to do that, I understand it. So it's so easy to do it. I just said 15 minutes ago, I don't know, $1 million. It's easy to run through that. And that's a crazy, crazy sentence that I never thought I would say. But I understand. It's like, yo, this shit really costs so much money. And that's what a major label can offer you is money, you know, to pay for all of that part. I don't know that there's a real answer to it, you know, to how you feel about that pressure or how you handle that pressure. But I think it's something like to remember to just, one, be gentle with yourself, be nice to yourself, and alleviate some of that pressure from yourself. Like, you could do that without even having a conversation with anybody. Like, that could just be all in your head. Like, where it's like, when you start to win and you've never seen anybody win, it's like, oh shit, I can't fuck this up. Yeah. Or we all lost, you know? And that's the type of shit that it's so easy to get anxious about that. But it's like, I don't know. It's like, that's not how life works. It's not like you don't get to pick when you can help, when you win. You don't get to pick you can't just jump to the end of it. I'm in the middle of figuring out, like, hey, does this work out? Like, I don't know yet. I don't know yet. And that's the part that I think a lot of artists build pressure from there. Yeah, I don't know. I feel good right now. When I was making this album, I was stressed the fuck out because I was figuring it out. Yeah. And it's not that I figured it out, but the part that I realized is like, if I don't figure it out, everybody will be fine. They'll live. Like, everybody lives. Yeah. Everybody's like, I had a friend call me in a bind, like, hey, I need this for rent. And this was at a time where I didn't have it. And I'm like, I really can't. Like, I could, but I really shouldn't. Like, go exhaust all of your other resources. If nothing happens, come back to me. Right. And then I didn't even hear from them. Didn't hear from them for however long. I checked back in because it had been a while. And I'm like, hey, are you good? Oh, yeah, it's cool. It's figured out. Yeah. A lot of times the pressure, like, we make the pressure. You know, a lot of people can figure, you know, my grandma been figuring it out for 70 years before I was even on the planet. She's not depending on me to eat. But when I make money, every time it feels like she is. Every single time it's like, oh, I gotta make more money so I can feed the family. But it's like, chill, bro, relax. But that's the growing up poor in America shit. It's like the second that you're not technically poor in the same way that you were, it's like you want everybody around you to be able to experience that. And that's where the pressure is. That's the hardest part of this shit to me.
Incredibly insightful answer. Just like really grateful for you to even frame it that way. One more question, then I'm going to open it up to the audience. You're going on your first tour starting this weekend, next weekend?
Monday's the first show.
So when was your last tour? I'm sure that it was like pre-pandemic, right?
Oh, for sure.
So how have you been like getting ready for this tour, whether that's physically, whether that's mentally, etc.?
I'll offer some context. Well, first, my last tour was November 2019. That was a Pivot Gang tour. My last like tour performing as like just me was the JID tour that we did, and it's like May, June of 2019, so quite a few years ago. So how I've been preparing or whatever is, one, not being on tour, not being able to tour, fucked my head up, and I think it fucked a lot of artists' heads up. Because that's where we connect to people, that's where we live the dream, that's where we like, okay, this is working. You see people, they're reciting your lyrics back to you, you have fans, they exist. Otherwise, it's just people on the internet that you don't actually know telling you, hey, great job on that, good song, hey, I like it. You know, but it's so like, the actual people are removed. So I was like I had started therapy and I'm like doing all type of shit to just like remain calm, because imposter syndrome is a thing that I think happened to a lot of artists during the like time away from the road. It's like, do I have fans? Will people buy a ticket to my show? Did any of this actually just happen? So preparing for tour mentally, that's what the process has been. Just kind of reminding yourself, like, remember the steps, like it's all good. Then there's the prepare for tour Christella stuff, where it's like email 5 million people every day and, you know, figure out logistical parts of tour, which is something that fortunately, because I have a team that is good at what they do, I don't have to really put much of my energy into thinking about the logistics. It's very rare that I have to be like 8:45 p.m. Like, it's super rare that I have to do that. And then I would say preparing for the show. I mean, it's literally just rehearsal. Like, that's what the last few weeks of my life have been. It's just been nonstop rehearsal. One of the things is I think a lot of artists are going to be out of shape. We used to play an hour every show, and we were doing shows every day, every other week, you know, and now it's been 3 years. So it's going to be some remembering how to ride a bike type stuff. But yeah, no, I'm just really excited for Monday. I'm really excited for Sunday, because Sunday we leave, and then Monday's the first show. So I'm really excited to just get in the bus and go, because that's when it'll feel real. There have been so many talks since the pandemic about tours. I've had a talk every year with my booking agent. Hey, tours coming back, tours are coming back, tours are coming back. But it's like, until I hit the road, it's like, tours aren't real. What are you talking about?
Right. The alarm in my pocket was so that I knew when to ask the audience for questions. So if anyone has any questions, you can go to the mics on the side. So we got a few. All right.
You got time?
I got time.
I got time.
All right, let's do it. Let's start with you in the red flannel.
Yeah. So my name is Joey. Big fan. First of all, I'd like to say congrats on Few Good Things and slightly happy belated anniversary to Care For Me. I have it on vinyl right here. One of my questions is to ask if you would sign it after this. But one question I had is, you're very vulnerable in your music, and I think you express that a lot. And I wanted to know what the significance, especially with this new record about 2012 is. Because you talk a lot about 2012 and the innocence that you have. And so I wanted to know kind of what was the awakening for you that year and how that kind of affected like your future and your lifestyle in general.
Yeah. That's a pretty solid question.
Look, man. He may be up here next, man.
So, right. One, yes, I will sign your vinyl after this. Two, I don't know. I want to say something about 2012 specifically, but before I do that, you said something about the vulnerability in music, and I just want to say where it came from. I used to be a really, really, really huge, and not even used to be, I am a really huge Bone Thugs and Harmony fan. My favorite rapper when I was growing up was Busy Bone. And Busy Bone had a crazy-ass life, and was really vulnerable about all types of wild shit that happened to him as a kid. And while that didn't exactly happen to me, I still connected to it and related to it and felt like I knew him more as a person. And I just understood the significance of it. So I think that taught me vulnerability, because I was like 9 or something listening to those kind of records, and it taught me vulnerability. 2012 is really when I think a lot of what we were talking about in these kinds of talks, the library, when we're really starting to pursue music, that's kind of where the journey, I feel like, begins. 2012 is when I met everybody. I met everybody that I know now, pretty much. Besides like Pivot Gang, I knew them before 2012, but it's like everybody else is like, that's pretty much when I met them all. And it was just like that feeling that you're living in your purpose is what I began to have in that year, where, you know, I developed routine, I developed community, I developed a lot in that year. And that's, I don't know, I just feel like 2012 for me is where my story really began. So that's why it's like I always go back to that year. We had the basement, and the basement was alive, and it was like, you know, every day it was new people down there just recording and trusting me to record them. And I don't know, I just feel like that was the year that I started to grow. Yeah, does that? Yeah, all right, for sure.
So my name is Jalen. I hit you in the DMs yesterday if you wanted some like Stan, Eminem type of, you know what I'm saying, inspiration. You spoke on being a black man in America and like being that vulnerable, how you just said, that's like really inspiring to somebody like me. So I really appreciate you on that. But my question was, you mentioned like being done but not like perfect with something that you're working on. How did you get to that point?
I can talk specifically about the new album, because this is, you know, it's the most recent memory of this. I had 2 songs on that album that were a real life pain in the ass to finish. And it was the 2 oldest songs. Actually, no. One of them was If I Had a Dollar, which is the actual oldest song. I made that before Care For Me had even come out. And the other was the interlude, an interlude called Circus.
Yeah.
And what made both of those songs so challenging to finish was the choruses. I think both of those choruses are really good. And I wrote the choruses first, but I had said everything that I wanted to say pretty much in the chorus of the song. So it made writing the rest of the song hard, because I don't want it to just be, how do I offer new information that is necessary? You know, that became the challenge. I wrote both of those verses like 5 times a piece throughout the years that it took to make them. And by the last one, I had made a decision that either this next verse I'm about to write is going to work, or I'm gonna just use the first version of the damn song, because I want to put the music out. Like, I'm not trying to just sit right here and be stuck. And I think mentally, that's just a decision. You just decide, like, okay, it's done. Because you can spend, like, it's not like every mix on any of my, I have no album with perfect mixes where I was just completely satisfied, like, all right, let's do it. I had albums with mixes that I thought were good enough. And then I was like, at some point I have to let go of this. Because if I don't, I'll spend the rest of my life tweaking this one song. And then, you know, like photosynthesis, I hate the mix on photosynthesis.
No way.
And it's the biggest record that I have. But I'm like, oh, why does it sound like this? Like, it could sound so much better. And it's just, you know, it's just, I don't know. I think part of being done is just letting go, you know?
Yeah, I don't got a vinyl to sign, but if you could sign one of my Crocs, I'd appreciate it. And I'm gonna see you in Columbus in May. But thank you.
All right, for sure. Appreciate you.
Benjamin Earl Turner's verse on "If I Had a Dollar" is nuts.
Oh, he
by the
went
way. He
stupid.
went crazy.
He went stupid.
Yeah, he went nuts.
I met Ben in 2012.
Shout out to him, man. Word of that verse.
I'm Miles, and I just wanted to first say thanks for like giving us this perspective. I feel like we all trying to figure, something out with our careers. So, thank you for being this humble and just giving us, this time out of your life to just give us this advice and, these pieces of what you've gone
appreciate
through.
that.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you.
I hope from this talk you got that I'm still trying to figure it out too, my damn self.
And that's
I
so
hope that.
inspiring, bro. But I just wanted to ask, this kind of goes back to the whole Dreamville collaboration, but also like some of the other collaborations that you've done. I know that you're an independent artist, so how hard is it to actually collaborate with artists being independent that you might want to work with? I know you said that working with Dreamville and some of these other collaborations that you've done were kind of like random. So have there been times where you've reached out to maybe someone that you've wanted to work with and didn't receive the response that you wanted because you were independent, or didn't have like the background that you needed, or has it been easy just being independent?
A lot of collaborations depend on relationship more than anything else. And, like sometimes like people, I might play a show and it might be like a fan in the audience or something. Hey, bro, I got a song. Can you, I want to feature you on. And it's, a lot of times it's just like, well, I don't know you, so why would I do that? Like, it's just like realistically, like a lot of times, like at least for me, for all of my collaborations that I feel like I had out, that's what it took. And then if it doesn't take that, it'll take money. Because, every now and again, it's like, some email might come in our inbox, hey, we got this artist, and it's an artist that I maybe haven't heard of, but they got this much budget and they want Saba on a song. And, sometimes if the record is dope and it's like from somebody that maybe my managers have a relationship with or something like that, then it becomes easier to be like, oh, okay, well, if they give me this much, I'm down to do it. And if they don't, then it's fine, and maybe I'll meet them in real life and it'll be cool, and then we'll still end up doing a record anyway. But a lot of times it's like, getting those big, I don't know, I don't even really be going for like super like I think part of what I want to do with my collaborations is work with people that I like, that I rock with, like that's kind of the whole point of collaboration. So I think a lot of times, like until you're in it, you try to skip the steps of building something yourself. Like the worst thing that can happen for some artists is to be, a pretty unknown artist and you have a huge feature. That song is gonna do what you want it to do. People are gonna absolutely listen to that song, but it's not necessarily like going to catapult your career, and now people pay attention to your stuff all of a sudden. Like you're still gonna have to do the groundwork of building your own thing with its own infrastructure and its own fan base and support system before you're really able to tap in that way. But yeah, a lot of collaborations is really just gonna come down to who you know and if they like your music or not.
Thanks, I appreciate it. And if you had time after, I'd love to get a picture or something.
For sure. I think we'd probably stick around for a second. I don't know.
Green folder.
Green folder. Red flannel, green folder.
Yo, so thanks for coming. You've been here for like all of an hour, and like you seem real authentic. And I was wondering, like, when you make your music, is it a certain message that you're trying to portray in each song, or is it a certain image that you want to portray yourself, or are you just going off of the ideas for that project or how you feel in the present moment?
Yeah, I think it's usually just real in the moment. It's not. I very rarely think about it beforehand, and I think a lot of times my songs are just kind of whatever's on my mind that day. And excuse me, what's happening is because I'm not thinking about it, I think I come off way more serious than I feel like I actually am. Like when I be listening to my own music, I'm like, damn, it's so serious. But that's just what I be thinking about. But it's like in real life, like.
Somebody have a different opinion if they listening with their ears.
Right.
Can I share a piece with you?
Kenny, how do you feel about that? Is that?
I say, careless children, I aspire to be them. The loved ones we lost, I aspire to see them. My brothers in the system, Lord, how can we free them? The homeless, the hungry, Lord, how can we feed them? We them. Niggas, fascinated by triggers. Bodies dropping, I figured, turned up on the liquor. Praying for a swisher full of, oh yeah, it's love inside our hearts, but we don't know because we don't go there. I damn near lost my soul to a lot that I've been told. Being older, getting grown, that must mean you're on your own. You better look around. The block is hot, that must mean some drama cooking now. The pot is hot, that must mean the mama cooking now. Boom, bam, hammer sounds. Gun smoke all around. Told to keep my head up. Maybe I should put it down. Hold up, you get it now? We living in confusion. Fatherhood's a myth, nah. Love is so abusive. Education useless. Useless but a nuisance. Useless but a nuisance. Fear must be the truth, nah. Death is an illusion. I'm spitting, I'm speaking to you. I'm spitting, I'm speaking through you. Time passes by. Who am I? Don't let me move you. Stories told by the man. What a lie. Don't let him fool you. Said you're not a king, but there's a crown on your medulla. Hey, my name Trackstar 3 times, though.
Give me much respect.
Wait. You said your name is what?
Trackstar 3 times. I'm
Word,
from Cleveland, Ohio, yup.
Word, dope.
Hey, can I give you a digital copy of my album?
Like flash drive, what you got?
Nah, it's a flyer. You just
flyer,
the barcode,
the
got a
QR?
barcode on it. Yeah,
Feel free.
for sure that.
Respect.
First of all,
Headphones on the neck.
Yeah. That shit was fire. Good job.
Thank you.
Basically, my name's Nick Thompson. I make music videos for artists. I'm local to Columbus. And I've worked over the years to make music videos and promos and stuff like that. My question is basically, what some advice you can give some local creators and people like us that would, some smaller creators that would help us grow and push our content and ourselves so that more people want to work with us and we can work on a greater scale?
To me, it would be, like for instance, if you in Trackstar 3 times, if you and people that are in your environment and people that are in your community, if you link up and you build with a team, because everything is going to be based in team. Like most videographers is like, they might work with tons of artists, but they always got their go-tos where it's like, you go back, like you still got your team. And I think that's what makes the difference, because you start shooting, maybe one artist's videos, and it could just be somebody who needed your help to do that. When they start building their career and they start growing, your platform is also growing. And it's like, if I don't know, I think a lot of times people they want the end result, but it's really the work in the beginning is where a lot of the results in the end kind of come from. Because it's like getting into, when you're getting into the game, I don't know, I think people just gotta, it's a respect thing, It's not that people don't think you're dope. A lot of times it's that people just have no idea what you even do. So it's like, find some people who care about what you do. Find some people who need you even. And build that with that team and help push a movement. And then it's like, now everybody wants a video by you just because you helped blow that artist up. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, sometimes that's how like video stuff works. But, I don't know. I don't want anything that I say up here to be like, this is advice. This is just my opinion. It could be wrong.
No, man, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely.
All right, I can take 2 more questions. I'm really sorry to everyone who I'm not able to get today.
Wait. There's a woman over there. Could she ask a question? Because I think it's been all men asking the question.
That is a
You know what
wonderful
I'm saying?
observation.
If we only got 2 left, I feel like it's only right.
You're right. Appreciate you, man.
Good looking out. Thank you. Okay, so my name's Camille Jones, and my question's a twofold question. So here I go. From my own experience within my community of artists, I know artists to be not only multifaceted, but also multi-talented. And just thinking about your evolution as an artist, where do you see yourself stepping into different creative spaces or exploring yourself creatively, whether that be stepping into like film or even if you just want to like pick up a new skill like painting or something? And then the second part of that is, what are you also talented in?
I used to think that I would make cartoons. That used to be my dream before I wanted to be a rapper. I wanted to make cartoons because I really loved to draw. I haven't drawn consistently since then, which was probably like when I was 8 or something. But it's something that I always want to go back to when I have the time to develop it and get better at it. Because now it's like, I used to be good at drawing when I was 8, so I'm good for an 8-year-old. And when I was 9, I found music, so now I've developed that, but I probably still draw like an 8-year-old. You know what I'm saying? Like, so when I have time to go back to that, I want to. I would love to get into, I don't know, I think you're absolutely right, though. Like, most artists are multifaceted. I've been trying to remember to take my production just as serious as I take my rapping and things like that. So I want to get into producing for other people a little more consistently. A dream of mine would be like scoring something. I think that would be really cool. I don't know. I would like to say, you know what? Writing. I would love to, I don't know, a book, a play, a movie, a show, like anything like that. Like I would love to, when I have the time to sit and like hone in and like study and practice and get better at it, I would love to write maybe like a script or something. I would say acting, but I don't know. That shit is hard. That's like a talent that I don't know. I'm down to try it. Like, I'm not ruling out, space for exploration. But I got a lot of respect for people who are actors and actresses, and they just, they're really good. Even bad actors are really good compared to like new actors. Like compared to like somebody who's like fresh, like didn't study, didn't go to school, none of that. Like a bad actor is like Denzel compared to them.
And I mean, you also just produced a new film, man.
Yeah.
Which
No,
is
that's true.
a
I was
wonderful
a
film.
big part of that, which wasn't exactly scoring because it was an album, and wasn't exactly acting because it was like, but it was kind of all three at the same time. I didn't exactly write it, but I worked with the person who wrote it very close. Like, so it's like I got to see how it moves and how it works, and it's something that I definitely want to revisit with more, with more knowledge on it.
Absolutely. Final
you.
question.
What's good? My name is Michael Sweeney, and I'm a big fan. I'm not gonna lie.
Thank you.
So on your Care For Me album, you talked about how your grandfather at times doubted your possibilities to become an artist because of your father and whatnot. And I'm curious, because doubting itself can be tough to overcome from just a stranger, but if it's someone from your own family, that can be even more powerful. What drove you to just continue building as an artist and then eventually becoming who you are today?
Yeah. It was, I had such a conflicting relationship with my grandfather at that time because he's the one who introduced me to music. He was pursuing his own career in the 70s. He was doing a funk band called Cara. And him and my grandmother were in a band, and when I was growing up, like he always had a guitar. He had a full studio in his basement. The first studio I had ever been in was my grandfather's studio, and he had everything. He had a booth down there. He had a full, like it was like the whole, like a real deal. You dig? And he had always inspired me so much. Like, hey, you've been making beats. Hey, you've been like, what are you doing? But it was like once I actually chose to pursue music as a career, he was scared. Because the other thing about me is like I've always done good in school. You know, when I was a kid, so he always thought regardless, like music was always the thing in the background. For me, it was always the thing in the front, but to him, he saw it as like you were doing great in school and music was like a hobby. And I'm like, oh, what? No, I thought we were all in on this. Like I thought we all knew this is what was happening. So when I stopped going to school, I did 3 semesters in college and then didn't go no more. Dropped the mixtape, you know, here we are. But my granddad, he just got real, like our whole relationship changed. It was really crazy to observe because it was always like that level of like, this is kind of funny, like that you don't approve of this because it's kind of like you did it, you know. And for years from that moment of making the decision to, and it's not even really like I made the decision. I lost a scholarship, so I was no longer able to go to college is what happened. I didn't like drop out, like I'm dropping a mixtape, betting on myself. Like, nah, I just, it happened to be like mixtape comes out, school, I didn't have a scholarship anymore, and that was the only reason that I was able to go to that school. So from that moment up until literally 3 days before he passed away, our relationship was weird. I had a Christmas dinner, and it was my granddad and my dad in a yelling match about my music. Because my granddad, he's old, like he's a granddad, you know, he's an old man. So his relationship to rap music is like Eazy-E and Dr. Dre and like them. Like, I don't want my grandson drinking 40s and talking about pimping. And like, and my dad's just like trying to explain to him like, that's not what's happening. And if it was what was happening, so what? Like, it's like just like kind of trying to bring him back to reality. And that was just like the most awkward Christmas. But I definitely like, touring actually brought me this because my grandfather lived in Arizona. So it's not like I seen him a lot. But on our first like tour that was our own, the bucket list tour, we got to go to Arizona, kick it, spend time with him. We got to have the moment of him like, hey, I'm so proud of you. I'm like, you know what I'm saying? Like, would go to the show if I could. Like, we got to really like squash the beef. And then he died 3 days later. It was crazy. It was like really surreal. But I'm really grateful for that moment of clarity and of like, you know, it's not like I thought he didn't love me or anything. He just didn't want me to fail. It's not that he didn't want me to do music. It's that he didn't want me to fail. And, you know, all of the decisions, all of the steps in my life, you know, it was looking like it was going to work out for me. It was like, hey, you doing good in school. You got your 3.9. You got all of this. Why are you throwing it away for this thing that might not work? That's what it seemed like his relationship to it was. But that was never my relationship to it. So it didn't really affect me that much. It affected me because it's like I wanted to talk to my granddad. Like, I had a great relationship with my grandfather, but it's like, oh, he doesn't believe it? Oh, well, like, it's not going to change my belief in it, you know?
I appreciate that, and I appreciate your lyricism in general. It inspires me, even though I don't have an ounce of talent in music, but I just like going on the day-to-day, you just talking about things that are personal to you. I think that really does help anyone regardless of background, so I do appreciate that.
All right, thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, everybody, give a round of applause to Saba.